This was an incredibly beautiful and well-written send-off to the Alabasta arc. I've adored this arc. I think it's been absolutely incredible. I've loved every single episode. I've loved the build-up to Crocodile's reveal. I've loved the fight between the two armies and the struggle we saw with the citizens of Alabasta. I love Vivi's journey to saving the kingdom itself and her relationship with the Straw Hats. Everything about this arc has been fantastic, from its characters to its themes to its villains, to its heroes. Everything about it has been brilliant, and I've enjoyed every second. And this episode was the perfect send-off. In this episode, Vivi gave a speech to the citizens of Alabasta, finally her coming-of-age speech after everything that's happened with Crocodile and the Baroque works and the war that's just happened. She's finally been able to speak to the citizens as the Princess of Alabasta again, after it being returned back to how it was before everything started. And I thought it was a really beautiful speech. It was, majority of it was to do with her adventures with the Straw Hats and the friendship she's made with them. But I thought it was so incredibly well written, and it was mainly talking about the fact that even during the dark times and, even when things seemed hopeless, they still managed to see the light, and she managed to see the light because of them. No matter, it was sort of an allegory with the water in the seas. Like, no matter how rough the seas got, no matter how unstable everything seemed, and no matter how heavy the waves were, they would always be happy and smiling and going through it. Like, there was always hope, and they gave that to her, and they gave her the strength to sort of push through in order to help save the kingdom, save its citizens. And along the way, she made some amazing friends with the Straw Hats. And like I said, it was just such a beautifully written speech. I can't do it justice, really, but again, it was just so nice to see finally Vivi in this sort of position where she can speak to the citizens of Alabasta after everything. Meanwhile, while this speech is going on, the Straw Hats are trying to make their way back to Alabama to collect Vivi in case she wants to come with them. And Bon Clay is the goat, man. I love this character. He essentially sacrificed himself in this episode for the Straw Hats because of the friendship he believes he has with them, and that he'll never compromise his morals, like, no matter what, even if he's a boy, if he's a girl, if whatever he is, he'll never compromise himself as a person. So the way he stood up for the Straw Hats and how dramatic it was and over the top, it was so indicative of Bon Clay as a character. Like, he cracks me up. I'm sure it's not the last we've seen of him, because I'm sure he'll come back. I would be gutted if this was the last we saw of Bon Clay, because he's got so much potential. But him facing off with the Navy and, like, declaring his friendship and stuff like that, and helping save the Straw Hats, I thought was so great for his character. He's my favorite member of the Baroque works, for sure. Formerly the Baroque works, 100%. He's great. But my absolute favorite part of this episode, besides Vivi's speech, was when she did finally reach the Straw Hats when they were departing and just said goodbye, basically. She's decided to stay in Alabasta as the princess, which I think is the sensible decision. But she wanted to ensure that if they ever did meet again, if the Straw Hats ever did return, that they would still be friends. And the gesture that they showed to her, I thought was so beautiful and brilliantly done. They couldn't actually say anything in case the Navy heard them and were notified that they were there. So instead, they all held their arms up where the X was, where they all painted at the beginning of the Alabasta arc. So they all knew who each other were, and it was their symbol of friendship. So in order to tell Vivi that they were going to be friends, and they always will be, they all held up their arms, as well as Vivi and Karoo did the same. And it was just such a nice visual and such a great representation of their friendship and everything they've been through since the beginning. And that, no matter what happens, they'll always be there for each other. It was a very beautiful moment, and I thought it was really, really well executed. One Piece is the absolute king of these small, intimate, like, tearjerker moments. Like, they easily could have just had the Straw Hats shout to her saying that we'll be friends or whatever, but just that small gesture with the X on their arms, I thought was so much better than them just saying it, and I thought it was beautiful. Like, genuinely, it got me a bit emotional, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't expect that at the end of this episode, but One Piece is really good at that. Like I said, overall, as for Alabasta, it's been incredible. My favorite arc so far, along with Arlong Park, they're like neck and neck for sure. I don't know in the future which one I'll say is my favorite, but for now, Arlong Park and Alabasta are in an absolute league of their own. I love them. Drum Island is up there as well. I've loved every arc so far, but Alabasta and Arlong Park for me have just hit different, and Drum Island too. But and Barate, I don't know. One Piece is fucking fantastic if you don't know, and I love it. And this arc was just another example of the absolute masterclass that Aiichiro Oda is presenting to us. And yeah, I'm amazed. So I can't wait to see what's coming next. But as for Alabasta, that's it. And I absolutely loved every second of it.